Hello, everybody. I'm here to talk to you about the syllabi and calendars for all of my classes. I do want to start with a disclaimer that some of my classes are online and some of my classes are in person, and the syllabi are going to be slightly different in those cases. I'm mainly going to speak to online because most of my classes are online, but the only real difference between an online syllabus and a in-person syllabus is that the in-person classes have a slightly different way of distributing the points because we have points for attendance and the exams are a little bit different in an in-person class. So that's the only real difference. I will also say that I teach both at Solano and at City College in San Francisco. And so the syllabus looks a little bit different. In City, I'm going to be showing you the syllabus from Solano. So it looks a little bit different, but all the content that matters around the policies and all of that is the same. So it looks a little bit different, but it is all kind of the same stuff. Okay, so let's get going. All right, so this is the syllabus. We are currently looking at a syllabus for the in-person class in Solano for psychology. So the very first thing that you will see on here is the course calendar and office hours link, and that is like, mission critical kind of stuff for you. So I would make sure that you are aware of um, that link is there and what it does for you. So before we go any further than that, I want to take you to where that link goes. So if you click on that, it's going to take you to this page. At the moment, there are not calendars for City yet. I haven't gotten to that quite yet, but the Solano calendars are there. Okay, so here's one of them for you. This is the online calendar. Again, they do not look that different, but you can look at both if you're curious. I work really hard to make sure that the classes are synchronized. So, like for example, that both classes are working on chapter one at the same time, both classes are working on chapter five at the same time, that sort of thing. I find that it's better to do it this way because sometimes people are taking the class with friends, but they're in different sections. And so it's much more helpful to be able to study with your friends if you're working on the same thing at the same time. So I do try to do that. So the calendar is really a useful tool for you to lean on to kind of understand what's coming and what's due. And there's a rhythm to it. Obviously, you can see that there's a rhythm to it. On Saturday, the modules open, and on Sunday, the quizzes and the assignments for the previous week are due. Right. So you'll get used to that rhythm. Again, in the in-person class, it's slightly different. The quizzes are due on class days, but like it's not that different. That's pretty much all that's different. So we have office hours on here too. You'll be able to see what the scheduled office hours are. They're all basically the same, so I could have just said office hours are Fridays from 2 to 3, but I want you to remember that they're there, so I put them on every week. I want to talk to you a little bit about the checkpoints. So every so often you see checkpoint. There's two checkpoints. Um, and basically, what this means is that you have a policy, which we'll talk about in a little bit, about late work, and the checkpoints mark the end of when you can turn in late work. Okay, so again, I'll talk about that a little bit more when we talk about the syllabus, but the checkpoints are on the calendar. You can see them coming up for you. Oops, the formatting got a little messed up there. I'll fix that, but they're up there. If there's a special note, like the hard deadline for the framework, that will be up there too. So there's a second checkpoint there. When I upload the calendars to the web, it kind of messes with the formatting a little bit. So I'm sorry about that, but you get the idea. So everything that you need to know is on the online calendar about when things are due and all of that. But you can always ask, and it's not like I've never made a mistake. So if something looks weird or doesn't match what's on Canvas, by all means, let me know. If you want to attend office hours, you literally can just click this link if you like, and it will take you to office hours. Obviously, if you click it outside this period of 2 to 3 p.m., nothing's going to happen. It will take you to an empty meeting, but I will be there unless I have announced otherwise that office hours have changed. I will be there at the 2 o'clock time on Fridays. Okay, so that's what the calendar looks like. And let's go back to the syllabus now. So again, at City, the syllabus looks different, but it isn't really any different. It goes through essentially this video. This is a new version of this video, obviously. And then it walks you through how the course is laid out and everything. And that will give you an idea of, what's coming. So I absolutely advise that you take a look. It will show you how the class is structured. And then there's various other useful things. You really do need to click all the way through this. And it's a lot for sure, but like the the information, you don't have to memorize it, but you need to know that it's there so that, when something comes up, you get a little bell in your head that says, oh, wait, 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 wait. That was in the syllabus somewhere. I'm going to go back and look at the syllabus. Every semester, people get all hung up on the syllabus. Something they should have known that they did not know. So don't let that happen to you. Okay. So, um, it's really important that you understand how to contact me and what the response time is. And the response time is especially important because sometimes people contact me kind of in a panic and have a question about something that they really need an answer to in that exact moment. And you have to remember, I do try to get back to people as quickly as I can when you send me a direct message, but sometimes I can't. And so remember that the response time is 48 hours Monday through Friday. So what that means is if you send me a message on Thursday night, you might not get a response until Monday night. So just like keep that in mind. It does matter. I do try to do better than that, but it does happen. So don't rely on that. There are other ways for you to get answers to your questions in the course. For example, every module has a discussion attached to it. So like you can always ask your question there. And hopefully another student will respond. Like I understand sometimes you just want a response from me, but in a pinch, you can certainly do it that way. Okay. So this section talks about how I will communicate with you, and that refers to classwork, but also it refers to individual conversations between you and me and also announcements. So make sure that you read through that. You can contact your classmates. There's course details, and the course details the thing that's really people are always asking me about the textbook is under course details, okay, and so that information is there. There's also a number of materials that I suggest that you obtain for the class, and that's whether or not you are in an in-person class, okay, so good notes are good notes whether you're in an in-person class or not. So a really solid composition book and some other things, I think it's really important for you to have. There is a table here about the course workload, and more or less over an 18-week course, you should expect to spend 9 hours of work per week, and that's average, right? So there are going to be weeks where it's considerably more than that. And then, like, there's going to be weeks where, the instruction is catch up, like go back and work on stuff. And then those are going to be weeks with less. So, 9 hours averaged over the semester is an important thing for you to remember. The course policies, there's, quite a lot here that you absolutely need to be aware of. But I just want to highlight here that I grade a little bit differently than a lot of other people do. We don't have a midterm. We have a little quiz that is in kind of towards the mm, end of the first third of the class. And basically what that is it's bigger than just a chapter quiz. I think it's 4 chapters. And what it is designed for you to do is to get an idea of how prepared you are to do kind of the standard kind of quiz or exam that you would be asked to do in another course. And is your studying methodology up to par, basically? And it's not designed to penalize you. The point of the exam is to give you an opportunity to kind of like suss that out, like how good are you at studying? And if it doesn't go well, you have the option to do a reflection assignment essentially that asks you to look at why didn't it go well? Like what when you review your exam, what did you what surprised you that threw you off, that made your grade not very good, right? And hopefully that will help you prepare for the next round of assessment. So, we have a plan in this class for, developing your skills in this sort of area. And so it starts with that. The deadlines on quizzes are not flexible. Any quiz or exam and they're not flexible at all. And they are designed that the reason why that is so is to encourage you to stay up to date with the reading, right? So the quizzes are really only about reading. This is not necessarily true in social work, but it is 100% true in psychology. And so the quizzes are really designed to encourage you to do that. And so, they just lock on their due date, and there's plenty of them and they're fairly low stakes. So, it's not a crisis if you miss one, but you really want to make sure that you do them because, there's only 100 points in classes, and the quizzes ultimately make up a pretty significant part of that. So you want to make sure that you're paying attention to them. And until they lock, you can go back and retake them and retake them and retake them. So theoretically, you should get full credit for every quiz that you take, right? Because you have the ability to go back and retake them as many times as you want until they lock. Okay, so in psychology, there is a personal improvement framework. This replaces your midterm exam. The we'll talk more about what this is in a different video or in class, but that is a assignment for psychology. Um, the exams they're like the quizzes. Um, they're really designed to uh keep you on track, you know? And so they also lock on their due date, or if they're in class, obviously you have to take them in class. In-person classes don't have discussions. So, but online classes do. So they also lock on their due date because it's a discussion, where we don't have discussions, over weeks and months. We have discussions in, as close to real time as we can. So those also lock on their due date. So for social work, let me just do a little side note here. So for social work, this kind of looks a little bit different, but because there's no framework, And so the points are kind of arranged in a slightly different way. But the grading structure is basically the same. And this 0, 1, 2 grading structure is really important to how I prefer to grade, because I feel like it reduces the anxiety that people have about grades, because it's very clear what's going on. You get a 0, it's not completed. You get a 1, and the expectation is that you're going to revise and resubmit. And then the number 2 is and represents full credit. Great job. This is totally sufficient. Um, People always ask me about rounding. Okay. So I do not round, except in one circumstance. And I will tell you that in 5 years of teaching, nobody has ever been in this circumstance, but here it is. Okay. So I only round um, if you have taken every opportunity to revise assignments that have been kicked back to you for revision, right? If you did not get full credit and it is an assignment, it's not a discussion, it's not a quiz, it's not an exam, whatever it is, right? If it got kicked back to you for revisions and you chose not to revise it, and then at the end of the course, you have like, a 79.9%, I'm not going to round. But if you did take those opportunities to revise, and at the end of the course, you have a 79.9%, I will round you up, right? So I just want to be really clear about what that policy is. I do not round. Okay. And that's kind of written here. So, all right. So, again, this only applies to psychology. It does not apply to social work. But, and the final exam is also different in social work. But there's still module quizzes for everything. There's still assignments and assigned discussions, in online classes. In in-person classes, there are not assigned discussions, just assignments. But the logging on and participation is the same, regardless of what format your class is in. And so what is that about, right? Like, so you're, even if you are in an in-person course, all of your work is on Canvas. And a lot of material is on Canvas. The lecture is only a part of what you are expected to know in this class, in all of my classes. And so you have to log into Canvas. You're not going to be able to be successful in the class if you don't, because you won't be able to submit anything, right? So make sure that you understand that Canvas is an integral part of the classes. If you're having trouble with internet access, or you're having trouble with computer access or something like that, please come talk to me. There are lots and lots and lots of solutions for that, and you should not be worried about coming to chat to me about that. We will solve it. Okay, so don't worry if you have an access issue. We'll deal with it. I have had students in all sorts of situations, and I have never had a student not do well because of their internet access. Okay, so no worries about that. There is an academic honesty policy in my courses that is quite strict, actually. So basically, if you're found in violation of the academic honesty policy, you will lose a letter grade in the course at minimum. It happens every semester that this happens. It either happens because people plagiarize, or it happens mostly these days because they're using AI. And in in all of my classes, they're very focused on personal development. They're very focused on you developing yourself and applying the concepts to yourself. And so AI just doesn't have a role in that. I'm not interested in your most polished writing. Like, I don't, um, you know, you're not being graded on grammar, so there's no reason to run it through AI for grammar, which is something I hear a lot. Like people are like, well, my writing's not very good, so I ran it through AI. Well, you're not being graded on that. So I don't want your stuff to be run through AI. I don't want your thoughts to be sanitized. I want your thoughts. I want them the way that they came out of you. If they're not clear, I will ask you about them, right? So just don't, just don't. I mean, sure, I'm sure plenty of people get away with it. I don't pick up on it or whatever. I'm not superhuman, but the whole point of the classes is that you are thinking critically about the material and that you're applying it to situations that apply to you. So using AI just kind of shoots yourself in the foot. So just don't use it. Make sure that you have read carefully through this policy. Um, the last thing that I really want to cover in this video is the inclusive learning commitment. Um, there's a lot of stuff going on in the world today about exclusionary policies. And that's not who we are. That's not who we are in either of the colleges, and that's not who I am. And that's not none of that stuff is allowed in my classes. Everybody belongs. Everybody. I have had students with all sorts of political views. I've had students with all kinds of social identifications, and everybody's welcome. So, if you participate in a course that in the course in a way that does not align with a inclusive, diversity focused mindset, um, you'll be asked to leave essentially, right? So I expect that you are respectful to everybody, and I will be respectful to everybody. Okay, so that's pretty much it for this video. There is more here for you to go through for sure, right? Like there's more for you to do. But oh, I need to fix that because that's not the semester we're in. So there is more for you to do. So let me know if you have any questions about any of this. I'm here to help you, of course, of course, of course. And I look forward to grading your work and seeing you in class and all that stuff. All right, thanks so much. Bye-bye.